Welcome, everyone. This is Debbie Mayberry with National Kitchen and Bath Association. You are here for the NKBA Global Connect webinar. The topic is National Kitchen and Bath Association Insights into the U.S. Market. Our presenters today are Susie Williford. She's the Executive Vice President of Industry Relations and CSO of NKBA. L.H. Millard is the Editor-at-Large and Industry Relations Manager with NKBA. Sherry Qualls is the Principal of White Good Marcom Agency based in Pennsylvania, and Veronica Miller-Eagleson, CEO and founder of M2 Connect, also based in Pennsylvania. So we're going to get started, and Sherry, if you would like to begin, we would love to get started today. Thank you so much.
Super. Thank you, Debbie. It's a pleasure to be with all of you today, and I thank you for making the time. For those of you who may not be aware, the NKBA has embarked on a very dedicated, focused effort to really build a more global connection between all of the kitchen and bath industry members around the world. Last fall, Bill Darcy, CEO of NKBA, and Susie Williford, Executive Vice President of the NKBA, put out a release stating that the Global Connect mission was to expand visibility of the National Kitchen and Bath Association and the association's premier trade show event, the Kitchen and Bath Industry Show, internationally with design professionals, brands, influencers, and other industry constituents, as well as facilitating discussion on conducting business and participating in events in the US. And one of the things that obviously Bill and Susie are very interested in doing is positioning the National Kitchen and Bath Association as the global connector for the kitchen and bath industry. And we have a number of initiatives around that effort. They involve things like an NKBA Global Connect Liaison Program. We have Global Connect meetups and summits, one of which is being built for later this fall. And we had one in Cologne in association or in connection with Living Kitchen, which obviously this presentation is coming out of. And then we have KBIS activations, Kitchen and Bath Industry Show activations that are happening in the North American marketplace. So wanted to make sure you had a little bit of that background before we dive in. But our host for today is Susie Williford, who has really been spearheading a lot of the initiatives around the Global Connect efforts. She, as Debbie said, is the Executive Vice President for the association and Chief Strategy Officer, and is going to be taking us through some high-level market research insights. One of the things that is important, I think, for all of our partners around the world to understand is the National Kitchen Bath Association invests well over $500,000 a year in unique research specifically dedicated to the benefit of our total industry association. And so one of the big things that you're going to be seeing today through Susie's eyes, as well as her associate L.H. Millard, is a look at the scope and size of our industry, as well as obviously some of the important trends coming out of it. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to Susie Williford. Susie?
Thank you, Sherry, and welcome everyone. Thanks so much for taking the time to join us for this first global webinar. A little bit about our association for those of you that are not familiar with us. The NKBA is about 55 years old and was started as a kitchen dealer association. We have grown tremendously through the years, and we are now an all industry association, meaning that we represent manufacturers, designers, remodelers, installers, manufacturers, reps, fabricators, showrooms. It is unique in the fact that we do represent multiple segments within the industry. The beauty of that is it really makes us a networking giant. It gives us the opportunity to be the perfect group to bring the industry together, which we've successfully done in the US. Our goal now is to do the same thing on a more global level. We've learned through trial and error that everybody works better when they're working collaboratively. We'll tell you a little bit more about it later, but some of you are aware of the fact that in 2014, we co-located our trade show, KBIS, with NAHB's International Builder Show. Putting those two shows together, collaborating two associations that could be looked at as competitive, instead of competing, we joined forces, brought our two shows independently, still independently owned, but we worked together to put on the largest trade show for the kitchen and bath and construction industry available. It has showed us that, again, the example of everyone working together is stronger and will make the industry much more successful. And that is our goal with our global initiative. It's not to take over anything. It's not to make money. This is to bring the industry together to help manufacturers bring products to the U.S., help our U.S. products to go across the pond, and then to help our design professionals and design professionals throughout the world have the opportunity to find products that are not yet available to them. So we are committed. As Sherry said, we put a large amount of money, almost $500,000, towards market research. We work with market research experts, have Tricia Zach on staff, who is a full-time research analyst. She's very smart and has brought us miles ahead in what we are putting out there as far as market research. We're very picky about what we do research because we want to always explore topics that are of particular interest to our community. Out of our research, we've learned that the value of the U.S. residential kitchen and bath market is $158 billion. Now, that $158 billion is product only. That does not include any design, installation, or construction pricing. The NKBA research has a wide sweep and a very far reach. We partner with world-class marketing companies on our exclusive custom studies. Research is primarily gathered online, featuring sample sizes that are nationally projectable and range in size from several hundred to thousands. Depending upon the research we're doing, NKBA might survey trade professionals. Sometimes we will research with consumers, and then in some of our studies, we will research both groups. As you can see by this slide, the total value of the U.S. residential construction market is estimated to be $644 billion. Kitchens and baths represent 25% of that total, which is really a huge chunk of the $158 billion, as I mentioned earlier. That $158 billion market includes a remodeling and replacement market of $99 billion, and then new construction out of that is $59 billion. Spending is about even for both rooms. The kitchen represent about $80 billion, and the baths are about $78 billion. According to our estimates, the kitchen and bath product market grew more than 7% in 2018 and will increase another 4% in 2019. So it's a continuous growth. We really have been experiencing a very robust marketplace. Earlier this year, NKBA launched a brand new research initiative that we're pretty excited about. Its official name is the NKBA John Burns Kitchen and Bath Market Index, or KBMI for short. In this research, it will monitor the economic health of the kitchen and bath industry. It examines the current industry of kitchen and bath demand, future expectations of the industry, and monitors also the issues and challenges that industry professionals are facing in their individual businesses. It's conducted quarterly among these member segments: designers, manufacturers, retailers, building and construction firms. So as you can see from the data on this slide, at 71, the kitchen and bath market index indicates the industry is firing on all cylinders. NKBA members, all of our members, are optimistic about both their current and future business conditions. It's a great time for us, and it's very nice to have this positive feedback about our marketplace. Drawing upon data from a few of our most recent market research studies, today we're going to present you with a pretty detailed look at U.S. kitchens, both from a market perspective and a design perspective. As we publish additional market research reports, we will host another webinar providing more detail around our bath segment. Valued at $80 billion, U.S. kitchen products market is dominated by two categories: appliance and cabinetry. These make up the largest pieces of the market, with sales of $19 billion each. Countertops are next, coming in at $14.6 billion, and kitchen flooring is nearly $13 billion. Approximately 11 million U.S. households renovated a kitchen or a bath in 2017. That's about 9% of all U.S. households. Our research revealed that 51% of consumers seek design help to create the kitchen of their dreams. And this represents 58% of the spending in the kitchen remodeling market. This indicates a significant opportunity for international brands to bring their brands to the American market and increase their presence and awareness in the U.S. Next, I'd like to share with you a little bit of what we know about the American consumers who remodel their kitchens. The average American who remodels a kitchen looks like this. 60% of these are women. Average age of these women, 52. Their average household income is about $138,000 annually. Their home's about 25 years old, and the average value of their home is $392,000. Kitchen remodels represent a big investment. The average cost of renovating a small kitchen under 150 square feet here is $27,000, representing about 5% of the projects. Medium-sized kitchens, between 150 and 250 square feet. That makes up about 73% of the jobs and average about $48,000. Large kitchens, ones that are more than 350 square feet, make up about 22% of the market and average $90,000. So as you can see, a lot of money in the U.S. goes into the kitchen. These costs reflect projects in which a designer is involved, not do-it-yourself jobs. However, most of the market is driven by mid-market activity, with a small percentage in the luxury arena. Just 13% of the large kitchen renovations exceed $150,000 in renovation cost, indicating an opportunity at the higher end of the market. Most Americans remodel their kitchens only once or twice in a lifetime, and these are the reasons they do so. Most people, 76%, choose to renovate their kitchens simply because they don't like the way they look. They can't stand looking at them anymore. They want to replace outdated style and bring it up to date. Meanwhile, 42% of them are remodeling because the kitchen doesn't function well. And about a third of those are updating to make the kitchen more usable for living in place in their retirement years. Interesting for suppliers, nearly 40% are motivated to remodel when appliances or other items break. You start with one item, before you know it, you're doing the whole kitchen. Among the 51% of consumers who seek design help, just over half look to home improvement retailers, TV shows, and home design magazines for inspiration. Therefore, These are key channels for brands that are not as well known to amplify their brand awareness in the United States market. KBIS, the Kitchen and Bath Industry Show, which NKBA owns, annually co-locates with the International Builder Show, IBS, to encompass what we call Design and Construction Week, which I talked about a little earlier. And it is one of the largest shows in residential design and building. Earlier this year, these two unique shows hosted over 2,000 exhibitors. We covered 1.2 million square feet of space in the Las Vegas Convention Center. In fact, we took up the entire Las Vegas Convention Center, and we saw over 95,000 individuals, all over 3 days in a 3-day span. Design and Construction Week is a one-stop shop providing attendees and exhibitors the ultimate destination to network, exchange ideas, and build their business. It continues to be the must-attend event for everyone involved in design and construction industries. In our post-show survey, they said 92% of the attendees said it is a must-see event. Wonderful place to introduce new product. If you're serious about breaking into the U.S. market, this is the place to be. Let us know after the webinar if you're interested in exhibiting or attending KBIS 2020. The dates this year are January 21st through 23rd, and the location is again in Las Vegas, Nevada. KBIS, America's premier expo dedicated to the kitchen and bath space, is a critical venue in which to build relationships with distributors, manufacturers, suppliers, retailers, and designers. More than 600 brands exhibited in Las Vegas back in February in KBIS, and attendance for KBIS alone exceeded 47,000 attendees. Registration was up some 30% from last year. The International Builder Show, whose attendees also come to KBIS, experienced a 30% increase also in their registration. So it's easy for you to see and for me to say that if you want to develop or enhance your business or increase your presence in the U.S., this is the place to be. KBIS attendees are among the most committed and successful people in their fields. By attending KBIS and building relationships with these influencers, you're traveling in an elite company in the kitchen and bath world. Participating in KBIS is just one way to reach a broad swath of kitchen and bath professionals and the community. But brands can get even closer to the designers, specifiers, and remodelers by joining the NKBA in chapter presentations to a committed audience, working with us to sponsor programs and events that reach design professionals who are most likely to recommend your products to others and more. We have 70 chapters in the U.S. and Canada that meet regularly. We are a committed community of people that network, and coming from the industry myself, before I worked for NKBA, I was in the industry for decades. I relied upon NKBA and KBIS to help me find new products to source, to talk to other industry professionals about what they know and what they've seen and what I can do to do something different. Very, very powerful, the association's network and the show. At KBIS this year, we had some new initiatives that in 2019 we felt were very, very successful. Of course, we had the Best of KBIS. And you know what? I think, Sherry, you put so much of this programming together. Why don't you kind of bring us up to date on some of the things that went on in KBIS 19 and let us know if those are going to be redone for KBIS 2020.
Fabulous, Susie. Thank you. A group of us, as part of the NKBA and Kitchen and Bath Industry Show marketing efforts, including Veronica Miller of Modanis and Leanne Wood of Flying Camel, have been very involved in working closely with the NKBA as well as the Kitchen and Bath Industry Show producers to develop what we consider to be some really amazing programming. When, as Susie mentioned, we co-located with the builders a few years ago, one of the things that we learned very quickly was, as important as new products are to all of our attendees, programming and networking opportunities are equally as important. And in this digital age, we're finding that events like the Kitchen and Bath Industry Show are really looked upon as the opportunity for folks to really connect, benefit from tremendous learning opportunities, and the sharing of best practices, and frankly, honest face-to-face sharing of things that don't work as well. So we created a number of activations on the show floor this year. Because we had such success in selling exhibitor space on the show floor, we needed to move a number of new innovative activations into a place called the Salon by KBIS. This is a tented area that we're going to be reprising in 2020. This is a perfect opportunity for brands that are new to the market to kind of have an opportunity to, in a smaller way, present themselves and frankly get a very close alliance with our Design Milk by Modenas Lounge activations, as well as with other more unique intro to the marketplace brands. That area we refer to kind of as our KBIS Edit. This is a curated area where there are a number of brands that, again, are toe dipping, trying out, checking the marketplace to see if indeed this is going to work for them. It's an opportunity for them to meet potential distributor partners as well as design professionals and architects and custom home builders. We did have a crossover from the builder show this year of about 20,000 remodelers and custom home builders who were looking at KBIS for new and innovative ideas and products. We also cross-fertilized with our friends at the Dallas Market Center in Texas and brought a whole new activation called Lightivation to the event, where we really recognized the importance of lighting as part of our portfolio of categories. Our friends at Modenas developed the KBIS Modernist Design Trail, which was a curated trail designed by 3 design professionals looking at really the new approach to modernism in the States. Our Best of KBIS event, which continues to be a fabulous presentation of new presenting products that gives brands an opportunity to get highlights. We also introduced our Living in Place partnership. The NKBA has developed a strategic alliance with the Living in Place Institute, speaking to wellness and design properties and certifications on the show floor. We had a fabulous KBIS Think area, which allowed people to very casually and organically connect to talk about things that were frustrating or challenging to them. Fabulous new opportunity. And then our friends at Green Builder Media had a wonderful Align project that was an activation outside of our KBIS salon that allowed people to actually walk through an actual project. So again, many of these activations will be going forward in 2020, as well as some new outstanding programming that we're in the process of developing now. If indeed, as Susie mentioned, if indeed any of you are interested in getting more and deeper information on some of this, we'll be happy to set a separate call with any of you to help you navigate what is arguably the largest kitchen and bath industry show in North America. And just so you know, in the future, we will be revisiting Las Vegas for 2020. We'll be back in Orlando for 2021 and 2022, and then back to Las Vegas for 23 and 24. So you can think and plan accordingly. Thank you, Susie.
Well, thank you very much, Sherry. You're always so full of great information. So at this point, I would like to turn this over to Elle Millard. Elle is, as Sherry said, a good part of what we do, and is our editor at large and an NKBA insider. And she's going to talk to us about the U.S. market trends. Thank you, Elle.
Thank you, everyone. So NKBA is so much bigger than KBIS. KBIS is such an important part of what we do as the networking opportunity, but we really are a resource 365. So I think that's the benefit of what we bring to you all globally, especially. So we're considered a resource for everyone throughout the year. And this is meant to be a full-blown conversation that's two-sided. So this is not about us just dumping information to you. We're really here to listen to your wants and needs as well on how we can help you advance in the future. So with that being said, the trends portion is very exciting and fun. So we'll dive into some interesting details that we have received from our research. And we are very fortunate to have Trisha Zach with us today, who may be jumping in to elaborate on some details if you have some questions at the end. So I'm just really going to be giving you the high level insight from our research, which is condensed to share some of the commonalities throughout our studies, giving you the in-depth studies, which we will be available for purchase, but the executive summaries are available free to our NKBA members. So some key takeaways that we condensed from the research is we've done research now over the past couple of years on what had been happening currently. And this past year, we took a new approach as to what's happening and projected to happen over the next 3 years. So some of these key takeaways that we've found from our designers are a shift towards a contemporary style. So we've seen in the past that farmhouse was kind of leading the style for the US and Canadian markets, and we're lending now to more towards a contemporary style. It's still not reaching #1 yet, but it has hit the top 3 as far as styles. We're also seeing an increase in smaller appliances, which we'll talk about a little bit in depth as we go through more of this presentation. But there is a need for a smaller footprint and more efficient space within the kitchen space specifically. And island living is something that is becoming more of a focus in our kitchens, where we're seeing that footprint again. The triangle is changing. We're seeing more of a linear path, which is very conducive to this island living, including some prep stations, which also I'll show you some more information on. There's also growth in interest in varying cabinets, including the height, some of that mid-century modern look which has the legs instead of the plinth or the toe kick. So we're seeing some more interest in variation and customization. And then last but not least, another key takeaway is an increase in matte finishes, which is really fun. We've seen a lot of the flat black finish that has come into decorative plumbing and hardware. We've seen some of that in appliances. So there's a lot of excitement around new finishes. So a part of our research is really focused in on lifestyle. One of our studies had evaluated consumers' needs and some insights into their behaviors, how they're buying, what they're looking for as far as product. So we found that in lifestyle, we've learned a lot of information about marketing. So how you can market to them, what types of things they're looking for. So we'll dive into that here in just a second. So the lifestyle study is taken in a matter of those that we really condense the information to see who would be seeking design help, because those are who we really would be marketing to, is those that are looking to hire a designer. And between that information, we found that there's really 2 different types of segmentation. There's multiple segmentations, but the varying degree is those that are very confident in the kitchen and those that are struggling in the kitchen. And you can see here by the infographic that there's 62% of those that are confident in the kitchen, again, that would hire a designer, are female. 57% are the boomers. 15% have children in the household. The home value ranges around 430,000 US dollars, and square footage is about 2,500 square feet, which I'm not exactly sure what that converts to in kilometers, but it's about a 10-room home. And the average income is about $148,000. And for the confident cook, about a third of them are retired, which varies very differently from the demographics from those that are struggling. So you can see only about 53% are female, and 47% of them are Gen Xers and millennials. So they are purchasing, the Gen Xers and millennials are purchasing. They're just looking at different ways of purchasing, and they would categorize themselves more in the struggling cook area. 28% compared to the 15% have children. The home value is a little bit less, 400,000 compared to the 430, and the square footage is also a little bit less. So those that are struggling tend to have a little bit smaller home, little less income, more children in the household, and a younger generation. And only about 2/3 of them are working full time. So there's different buying habits that you can kind of dissect from this information. You can see who's buying products, what they're buying, those that are seeking design help. Different types of information will help determine what types of products they are putting into their homes. So as we look at this slide here, the confident cooks, when you think about the demographics we just talked about, they would be looking at putting in higher end appliances. They are more of the professional style of cook. So they would be looking at sous vide cooking, which is becoming very popular in the US. They're looking at induction cooktops. They're looking at warming drawers. So they're really focused in on what those appliances would look like. Whereas if you had an entertainer, which is another segment. So we'll go through from confident down to struggling. The entertainers are looking at that island living that we were kind of talking about earlier. So that prep station is very important. It's a one-stop shop. It's a linear footprint. It changes how we think about design in the kitchen as we look at the lifestyles of each of these segments. A busy family, for instance, may have a speed cooker, again, focused in on the appliances. Induction, again, something that's very efficient and helps them move throughout their day very quickly. And then the struggling cooks, when we think about the design for the kitchen, these may be people that are looking at the meal kit services. So that's very big in the US and Canada right now, is people that are ordering meal kit services, which they are a subscription-based meal service that comes to your doorstep, usually 3 times a week, and that depends on subscription, but that dictates how we think about refrigeration and storage. So those are definitely types of things that we're looking at when we look at the macro trends of what's happening in lifestyle. We also talked about the boomers and the millennials. So although the millennials are very, very hot in the market and we have a lot of attention that's focused on them, there's a lot of say, people listen to the millennials, the boomers also have the most purchasing power. And as Susie mentioned earlier, these are the people with the most purchasing power, are about 52 years of age, which now represents more roughly about 73%, which includes people that are about 45 and up. Of that purchase power. So the millennials and Gen Xers are under the age of 45. They're representing about 27% of the purchase power. However, as I mentioned before, we are starting to see that millennial generation purchasing more, and they may just have a late start due to so much college debt that we have here in the US and Canada. Also, the boomers are living at home much longer, which we'll talk about in just a minute. And the millennials are starting to marry a little bit later, which means that they're starting to buy homes a little bit later. And according to the Population Reference Bureau, females are marrying around 27 and a half years of age, and males are getting married about 29 and a half in 2018, compared to the ages of 21 and 23, which was 50 years ago. So you can see there's a shift in people that are getting married, starting families later, and starting to build homes a little bit later as well. So the next trend that is a really big focus in the US and Canada right now is this concept of living in place. And living in place has a stigma of creating a space that is for elderly or someone that's handicapped, and that is not at all true. So what the US is really focused in on is designing smart spaces for people of all ages. So the concept of living in place is making a kitchen and bath space safe, or the whole home, to be honest, safe for everyone from birth to death, essentially, in living in their home comfortably, so that it's very easy for people to navigate their home and be efficient in these spaces while keeping them safe. This is a fun little statistic here from the US Census. From now until 2036, 1,000 people will turn 65 years old each day. That's incredible. That's a huge number of people that are aging into retirement age every day. And the other stat here shown on the screen is something that's really resonates, that Americans are spending $30 billion on changes in their homes to accommodate different types of lifestyle, which may include aging eyes, which may include grasp ability with your hands. So $30 billion on changes into the home. That's something that is very marketable in the US, and gives that story of how you can market products a little bit better. So top causes of injury or death in the home are, this is according to the National Safety Council, have to do with poisoning, falls, choking, suffocation, drowning, and fires and burns. So if you think about those safety issues that really we focus on when we think about trends in the industry, is these all happen in the kitchen and bath. So this is something that we pay attention to, and we want to make sure our homes are safer when thinking about the overall design in the space. With living in place, we also think about quality. So the quality of products in the home, how long will they last? And quality doesn't just go from products, but when we think about how people are living in their homes, how often they are moving out of their homes, this has changed significantly over the past few years. So this chart here shows an average in 1980, there was about 17% of people that were moving out of their homes, move it into assisted living. Mobility, it could range from people moving to college, moving away. That was about 17%. And we're seeing now in 2018, that has reduced to 11%, which doesn't seem like a huge shift. However, that amount of people are starting to stay in their homes longer, which correlates back to this living in place concept, whether it's the millennials that are working remote or figuring out ways in which they can work from their homes, or it is the ability to live in our homes. That mobility is on the decline, which is really important for product development as far as quality is concerned. Another large trend that is a shift for the US, sadly, but we are now finally focusing on healthy living. We do really consider wellness and what does health mean. And it's not really just the air we breathe. It's what we're eating, what we're putting into our bodies. It's the overall mental well-being as well. There's been a big focus on that. Healthy living is designing with the health in mind is very, very important for designers. Everything from the way we cook to the air we breathe, as we mentioned, to the water we bathe in, how is that being filtered? It's important to homeowners and the designers. And people are really paying attention to how they're reducing the amount of chemicals we're putting into their bodies and in their homes. By they're thinking about fresh air exchange, cleaning with organic natural products. So well-being is something that's really, really taken over in the bathroom as well, as far as technology and how it provides us information on improving our health through calculation of waste and smart toilets, and giving us apps in which we can drink more water or pay attention to exercise. That is really, really important on what's happening in technology in the bath as well. The water closet is one of those that is now just more than a toilet. It's the space that is cleansing, which helps reduce infection. The smart toilet is something that we'll talk about here in just a minute, which is becoming much more popular in the US and very similar to the bidet concept in the European markets. Float tanks are really something also that has taken over. It's not something that's a huge increase in people investing in these privately in their homes, although this is an option. But commercially, these float tank concepts and the idea of floating, again, focusing on wellness, there's so many benefits to floating. And we're really embracing this concept in the US as far as the health benefits that are concerned. Extreme decrease in anxiety and depression. It overall improves sleep patterns, drastically can reduce stress, physical pain. Athletes that are actively training or elderly people, they're floating to help relieve some of those pain and aches. And it overall benefits creativity as well, which is a huge benefit for our mental well-being and health and wellness. The smart toilet here in the US is slightly different than the bidet system. It is more or less an all-in-one unit. That is the bidet seat. It is a warming function. It has a night light. So the overall concept of the smart toilet is to allow us to have a cleaner space, easy maintenance. The smart toilet also will spray an e-water on the interior of the bowl, which means that you have to reduce the ability to hire a maid or a cleaning service or clean it yourself. So there's lots and lots of benefits that we're seeing to these smart toilets, but the big focus is on health and wellness. There is a statistic out there from the Living in Place Institute, which we've partnered with, that is claiming we can reduce the urinary tract infections from women almost 90%, which is huge for our industry. So when we think about this on a macro level and how this impacts design, we are finally embracing these concepts that really do focus in on that health and wellness concept. You can see here that the increase in sales in smart toilets has been from 22% to 40% in the past few years. And that again is because people are becoming more familiar with the concepts and the benefits to this. So the US market really likes to hear the story behind it, and that little statistic of just being able to save on maid service, saving money there, or saving on medical bills from reducing the urinary tract infections is really something that resonates with this market. And last, for the health section of the trends, we think about how we're cooking as well and the types of things that we're putting into our bodies, which would include um, the nutrient retention is something that we are also focusing in on. So as I mentioned earlier, the struggling cooks may be looking at a speed cooking appliance that can cook food very quickly, but also retain the nutrients. So it would be a combination of a microwave and a convection oven that helps reduce the amount of time, but also retain the information or the nutrients, excuse me. We also look at induction, which I know has taken a little while to get to the US as fully embraced, but we have seen an increase in induction cooking over the past few years. And again, that relates back to lifestyle and overall aesthetic of what they're looking for. The induction, it obviously does not have an open flame, so there's many benefits to that relate back to that living in place concept. So we reduce the burns. So that was one of those listed as one of the safety hazards. And people are starting to really grasp that concept. Again, very efficient, user friendly, even cooking, and we're really understanding how these are effective in the market. Earlier on, oh, sorry, if we could just go back just a second. Earlier on, there we mentioned the sous vide cooking and how that is becoming more popular in the market. So we are starting to see people that want to cook like professionals and eat like they're eating in a fine restaurant. And we are now seeing that cooking method be embedded into our ranges, whether it's a gas range or a separate sous vide cooking. This concept of cooking is very much um, important to the concept. And then last but not least is steam. So steam is rated as the overall nutrient retention, and people are really paying attention to the steam in the kitchen and cooking appliances. Also focused in on health and wellness is the refrigeration. So again, we talk about the air that we're breathing, how this is being filtered, but this also focuses in on how long we can retain our fruits and vegetables. So that is becoming very important as well, as the focus is on having fresh herbs and fresh fruits and vegetables in the refrigerator. We're also looking at eliminating airborne bacterias and filters that will absorb the ethanol gases that, again, deplete the fresh fruits and vegetables. The grow stations are something that's becoming a little more popular, more in urban areas for us. I know this is very common in the European market. However, this is something that is starting to really be embraced in the US and Canadian markets as well. We're seeing the lighting technology allowing us to be able to grow these stations. Instead of having a rooftop garden in an urban area, they're now embedding them into their kitchen using different type of hydroponics and LED lighting and different lighting to allow them to remain fresh. I also mentioned the meal kit delivery service a little earlier, and we've seen a tremendous growth in this as well, 22% growth from 2017 to 2018, which is expected to continue to grow and cap in 2023. So that idea of, again, when you get the service delivered to your home, we need to think about how we're designing refrigeration units and how we're cooking it, these types of areas, how we're prepping these foods, washing, cleaning, etc. So this is something very much so to keep in mind. So we covered the safety and the wellness as far as trends, and now we're heading into customization. Customization is key in this market. The ability to be able to change things out, keep things fresh is very exciting for the US and Canadian markets. And we're looking at things like colors, cabinetry, the island and living stations that we were talking about with that linear path. Being able to customize that to really fit the lifestyle is very important. There's also, if we could go to the next area, 3D printing is something that has really taken off in the US. This has been recent over the past couple of years, but we are seeing the ability to customize using 3D printing technology, whether it's through faucets, home construction, um, countertops. Pretty much, if we are able to dream it, we are able to build it now. And I think that's really resonating with the homeowners as they learn more about this. You can customize these fine little details in the home. Also, tiny living. It comes and goes. We see tiny living increasing with the millennial generation. They have quite a bit of debt. They are looking to have those experiences. So the smaller compact spaces are also resonating with the millennial market. And then I had mentioned these sinks that allow us to have some flexibility in what we are able to do as far as prep and entertainment in the industry. Technology is the last trend that I will go over before we talk about branding and marketing. Technology is something that we really focus in on. The US market has been very good at adapting technology and staying on the forefront of this, whether it comes from appliances, the smart toilets, voice activation. We're really being able to focus in on how much people are spending, how much time they're spending in their kitchens and what products they are considering more of a splurge. So we're seeing much more of that in the tech arena. We do have a technology study that is done and in depth gives you or provides a little more detail. We are now currently conducting the bath study, which will also include integrators. So that will be really great information that will be to come that Trisha may be able to expand upon if you have some questions. So we're looking at technology as far as how does this relate to overall home systems, the overall integration, the voice activation, those types of things, as well as the appliances, the lighting, and the devices. Appliances are really taken off as far as the trends are concerned in the industry. We are seeing everything connected to an app, many things that are voice activated, and really making you cook like a professional with the conveniences of being at home. So last but not least is the branding section. And I know we have Veronica and Sherry with us, which are excellent uh, advisors on how we can help the global market and branding to the US market. But overall, high level things, there are some big factors in branding that help drive the US market. And I know Susie had mentioned earlier, which KBIS for sure, but we think about influencers and how they work within your industry. Advertisements is so different now that it is influencers that are posting on Instagram and posting things on social media that are really changing how the consumers see the market. The events, as mentioned earlier, networking opportunities for you all to be able to get your brand out there, storytelling. The US market is very interested in those feel good initiatives. We want to hear about those stories, the philanthropic initiatives that you all are working on, and the product reviews as well. So, you know, technology is at our fingertips where we have the ability to research types of products and reviews. So make sure you have very positive reviews because they are sought in the U.S. market as far as content in which we are specifying and purchasing. So Sherry or Veronica, do you have anything that you want to add as far as branding is concerned and how we can help grow businesses globally?
One of the things that I think is critical, obviously, as you're thinking about your potential entree into the North American marketplace, is, as Al said, to stand up your story. One of the things that many North American customers are very interested in is the provenance and the history and legacy that is associated with the products that are being manufactured. And I think also there is a real reverence for European made and UK made manufactured product. One of the things that I think as you look at the luxury market, especially, but it is not, limited only to the luxury market, is a desire to really understand how a product is crafted. And that does not necessarily mean it needs to be handmade or whittled at, a lab table. It actually can have a certain level of manufacturing that is just very strongly and thoughtfully well engineered. Getting that story really clearly defined and differentiating yourself early in the game so that as distributors and retailers and design professionals are thinking about how they're going to share your story is very, very important. So, from my vantage point, getting that uniqueness identified and stood up early is a big part of having a successful entree into the North American market. Veronica?
Yeah, from my perspective, can you guys hear me okay? From my perspective, what's really important to think about from a European perspective is the tone of voice that's used in marketing to the US market. So studying other models, marketing models is really, really crucial. I know being German myself, there's a real desire with many brands to uh, really put functionality first to really be heavy on numbers, facts, figures, and that is very, very important. But the U.S. market responds a little bit differently. It's a more emotional market, oftentimes in the marketing world. So really thinking about who to reach out to, who can handle consulting for you to help understand that the language that's spoken in terms of marketing in the U.S. market is really, really important. I would say the other thing is to look for consultant access in terms of locations in the US. The US is a very, very big market with over 320 million population. It's obviously a very large country, and North and South, East and West do not think the same way. Coming to America does not mean coming to Manhattan. If you think about it, many brands do come to Manhattan first, but when you think of square footage and possible product use, oftentimes one might argue that you would be better to launch in the Midwest or maybe in Texas if you're looking for product sales. So having these maybe non-aspirational conversations, but to really think about what realistically makes sense and how this country is structured is very, very important. I wouldn't make assumptions. I think spending time, some money on good consultants along the way is really, really important.
Thank you, Veronica. You know, the other thing about that is, yes, I agree with you 100% on the consultants. Also, keep in mind getting to know our members, being a part of KBIS, and if you're not ready to be a part as an exhibitor, to attend and see what it is, talk to the people, meet the people, find out what it is, because they're right. We have very different markets, which is wonderful when you're bringing a product over, because you might have different offerings within your product line, and it can be embraced by all different parts of our country. So some of the items in conclusion for you to consider, number one, who is your U.S. demographic, and then how can you target them? And of course, we've mentioned to you a lot of different ways and where you can get help with the association, with the shows, with the consultants. Do you have a warehouse right now on U.S. soil? And the things to consider when bringing products over is your shipping, your packaging, your stock that you want to have over here, and spare parts, because we are a market that likes everything quick. People don't like to wait around to have something fixed. And then are you prepared? Are you prepared once you come over here and we love you, we love your product, are you prepared to have your product fly off the shelves? Because you need to be prepared, because if you're well accepted and your product is liked and it starts being specified and purchased, you don't want to be in a position where they can't obtain it. So we thank you all for your time today and for participating in our first Global Connect webinar. But we really hope, and personally, I hope you found this information useful as you plan a possible expansion into our U.S. market. If you are interested in obtaining more information, but you want it on a more personal, face-to-face style, we'd love to see you at our Thought Leadership Summit this fall. In early October, we will be hosting a Thought Leadership Summit in Cheshire to provide additional insights into our U.S. market. If you're interested in attending, please let us know, and we will send any pertinent information your way. On the phone, we have Amy Harnby, who is the VP heading up our show for us. Emerald Exposition produces our show. She'll be joining us in London, so she'll be there that she can help you. So lastly, stay tuned, because we'll be rolling out a Global Connect program subscription by the end of the year. And in the meantime, we encourage all of you to reach out to us if you have any questions, anyone here at the NKBA or the team that's on the phone, and hope that in the near future you become a valued part of our association and of our show. Again, we all thank you for your time and enthusiasm and look forward to seeing you in the fall. Have a great day.
Thank you so much to all of our panelists, to Susie, to Elle, to Veronica, and also to Sherry.